right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. No, we're not a law firm. I could never be an attorney. Welcome back to the show. But the guy we have on the line with us right now, he knows a thing or two about the law. He's certainly my favorite mayor of all time. Number 2, though, would be his wife, Carolyn, who's absolutely doing a fantastic job. Oscar Goodman joining us right now on the KDWN hotline. Oscar, I appreciate you coming on, my man. How you doing?
It's all right, Brian. I'll tell you something. This is a supreme sacrifice on my part. The first game, preseason football, it may be better than watching paint dry. I'm not sure.
Well, you told me a few days ago, correct me if I'm wrong, that you might be drunk during this interview. So we're trying to figure out.
Let me put it this way, okay? It's halftime, and I see 44 players out there on the field. So you tell me, okay?
When do you start kicking back the martinis? Is it like 5 o'clock?
I don't start before 5, but I'll tell you something. I can consume more between 5 and 6 than any human being in the history of the world. So I am there. I'm having a good time. My wife will tell me what I said tomorrow morning, and hopefully I won't embarrass her. But you had one mistake. She is the number 1 mayor of all time. This woman is unbelievable. I mean, she actually works.
Well, it appeared like you didn't
name another mayor in the country who works. She works.
You guys also have fun, though, and I know both of you. You just love this city. This is your city,
we
sure
do.
And
we
you
love
take
Las Vegas.
and you take pride in it. So let's get to a serious note here for a second. You know, October 1st, obviously a huge tragedy, but the way that the community came together, and the Las Vegas Golden Knights, I think, were a big part of that as well. As mayor, it's a tough question to ask you, but as mayor, did you always fear that day would come, that we have so many huge events in this town, that day could come where we could see a horrific tragedy like that?
Let's put it this way. I was praying that it would never happen on my watch, and I got lucky. It didn't. My wife got a phone call, I think, about 20 of 11 that night, and it was from the sheriff, and he indicated that this disaster was actually taking place at the time. And she said, what could I do? She had gone through the training with FEMA, which is so important down at Emmitsburg, Maryland, where they go through a whole process for about 4 or 5 days, telling elected officials and people in the community, like first responders, how to address the potential of a tragedy, be it man-made or natural, that happens in a community. And thank goodness she remembered everything that she was taught. And when the sheriff said, well, the one thing you can do is go to the hospital, which is about 2 blocks from our home, to be quite frank with you, and see what you can do over there. And she called her marshal, and the marshal picked her up, took her over there. And I didn't see her for the next 2 or 3 days. She was immersed in helping the families, helping the victims, helping the first responders, helping the community. And I've never been so proud. I'm always proud of her because she's the greatest, but I was never as proud of her as I was when I saw her on all the national networks talking about Las Vegas with a great deal of dignity and pride, and that we would overcome. We would never be able to forget nor forgive, but at the same time, we would remain strong. And it was an awesome experience. We're not better for it because you don't get better for a disaster such as that. But I think we learned an awful lot. And the community, even though we'll never forget it, has bounced back. And we just keep on going. Now, as far as I know your interest in sports, as is mine, we were in an extraordinary situation with the Las Vegas Golden Knights, or the Vegas Golden Knights, because they were, like the New York Mets. They were a miracle team, and they stepped up. They really became part of our community, and they reached out. And when people went over to the T-Mobile, they felt as though we were galvanized. We were one. There was a unification. It was pretty remarkable. And I'd say, as far as the city is concerned, nobody recovered as quickly as we did from an economic point of view, but the scars of 10-1 will remain with us forever.
I agree with you, Oscar, what you said about your wife as well. She showed fantastic leadership throughout this whole process.
She's a real leader.
Yeah, you know I agree with you on that. Let me ask you this. What do you
You
think?
agree with me on everything.
Well, I don't know if I'll agree with you on everything. We'll see
you
if.
better agree with me on everything, or I'll hang up the phone. Yeah, nobody's talking. Okay,
Well,
and I won't remember because I'm half loaded, so it doesn't matter.
Well, let me ask you this. What do you think they should do with that site? Because my opinion has always been on October 1st, the 1 year since that tragedy, I thought they should put on some sort of benefit show for the victims and their families, something along those lines. And, those victims are, and this is another subject, but they're going through tough times too. And I don't know if you have an opinion on this, but now MGM is suing the victims. And when I read that,
that's something that's something that I do have very firm opinions on. I did not like the idea, and I'm not going to put myself in the place of their lawyers. They specialize in this kind of work, but in my opinion, they could have filed motions to dismiss for lack of jurisdiction and motions to consolidate rather than to have a separate complaint filed, as I understand they did, with all of the parties and making them live through the horror of a lawsuit, which is a horrible thing, let alone the experience that they had on October 1st. So I thought they made the wrong move, and I'll probably be chastised by all your listeners for saying that, what's he talking about?
I don't think so.
MGM knows better than Oscar Goodman. But the truth of the matter is MGM doesn't know better than Oscar Goodman.
Look, I'm not going to question you because one of your clients is Robert De Niro from Casino, so I'm not going to question an attorney like that.
I'd be more concerned about Pesci than De Niro.
Gosh, so many other things to talk about. If you're just joining us, we're speaking with the former mayor of Las Vegas, Oscar Goodman. Oscar, what if I asked you 15 years ago, if you thought that by now we would be getting an NFL franchise, we would already have an NHL franchise, the NBA would have a relationship with MGM from a gambling standpoint, and we all know that's just a matter of time before we get the NBA, and Major League Baseball already in discussions trying to get an expansion team here. If I told you that in 2018, 15 years ago, that this would happen, would you believe it?
I would believe it. I believed it when I was elected in 1999. The first thing that I did was go back to talk to Gary Bettman with the NHL and got his position, and it was very positive as far as Las Vegas being an NHL town, notwithstanding the fact that we were the only city, I guess, in the world that accepted bets on sports and the like. And then I ran into David Stern, and he was absolutely adamant that he would never allow an NBA franchise to come here over his dead body, he said. But over a period of time, he mellowed, and we became good friends, as a matter of fact. And came time for the All-Star game when we were the only city in the history of the NBA that had a All-Star game without a franchise. And the good commissioner was sitting across the desk from me, and he said, "Okay, Oscar, the ball's in your court. If you can convince the casino owners that they want a team here, and you could talk to the NBA owners and ask them whether or not they want to move to Las Vegas, then I'm not going to stand in your way." That was a major, major step, and a lot of factors came into effect. That it was a big weekend here in Las Vegas. It was President's Day, Chinese New Year, the Magic Show had been here, and the All-Star game, and we had a lot of gangbangers coming in from elsewhere, and they really messed our town up, and there was a bit of a souring on the concept, but they straightened out. And then Adam Silver became the commissioner, and he's a very enlightened young man who really sees the potential of a partnership between Las Vegas and gaming and the NBA, and he's making great strides there. Carolyn went back to the Conference of Mayors, and I accompanied her. We met with Commissioner Manfred from the Major League Baseball, and he was more than friendly. He didn't say you're going to have a major league team in 2 years. He would never say that, but
right.
He was not adverse to Las Vegas, and I see us having a major league franchise here. I see the NBA here, so it does not surprise me at all. I had a very bad relationship with the NFL personally because they wouldn't play our ads during the Super Bowl.
Ridiculous.
As a matter of fact, they didn't even want to call it the Super Bowl. They wanted to call it the big game, and of course,
right.
I called it the Super Bowl. So no friendships as far as Goodell and Tagliabue were concerned, but it was just a matter of time. And Carolyn, fortunately, had a personal relationship with Mark Davis, having known him as a little boy when his father used to come into town, and she would visit with him, and they were friends. And it was an easy meet, and Mark Bedane has been the kind of guy who is very easy to work with, so that was fine. We'll have everything here. She's going back and going to be meeting. She wants Major League Soccer.
Right.
It'd be giant here because the soccer league that's here is getting bigger crowds than our minor league AAA baseball team is getting. So
right.
Vegas is a world-class city. We have Major League Medicine, Major League Performing Arts, and we're going to have Major League Sports. So everything is cool.
Oscar, JD here.
Hey, how are you?
I'm very, very good. Nice to meet you. Nice to talk to you the first time.
Can you believe it, Oscar?
You've been working.
I have a co-host. Can you believe it?
I am alive.
When did they give you a job? Oh, we're in real trouble now.
Anyways,
you better start drinking.
How soon do you think that the Super Bowl will come here? And are we ready for it?
Oh, certainly. They'll come. I'm not going to make light of it, but every NFL fan in the history of the world will be here. I know there's no better place than Vegas to have a party, and we're going to have a first-class stadium here. We've got 55,000 or more rooms that are available very close to the airport, great roads coming into town. I mean, it's a natural. There's not a better city in the world to handle a Super Bowl than Las Vegas. Best restaurants, best shows, best weather, best everything. I think it's inevitable, and I think it could be a year or two after the Raiders settle in here, maybe before that.
Oscar, do you feel like, and you alluded to this, the relationship that your wife has with Mark Davis, do you feel like if that relationship was not there, there certainly is a possibility that the Raiders would not be coming here?
No, I can't say that, of course. I can't say that. It just made it easier because when people know each other on a personal level, it makes the discussion much easier. So Carolyn felt very comfortable in talking to them. Mark Davis felt very comfortable in talking to her, and that spilled over to Bedane, of course. We would have rather have had the stadium downtown at Cashman Field where our AAA team, baseball team plays. It was a natural, but the people on the Strip who have the money, they wanted it out there on the Strip. So the money speaks, and that's what happened. So it's going to be out there. They're going to have some major issues as far as parking is concerned, and the ticket prices. The average guy won't be able to afford the 50-yard line tickets because they're going for licenses. It costs $75,000 a license, and I think $30,000 a year for the tickets. So it's really suited for the whales that come in and play at the casinos here. But there'll be good seats. It's a stadium where every seat is going to be good, and the locals will be able to afford it. It'll be a nice mix, but we're going to have to get used to the traffic because on the same road that folks on Sunday use to get back to Southern California, and they have to pass the stadium. So it's going to be a bit of a bollocks to start with, but, Las Vegas overcomes those things.
Just joining us, Oscar Goodman, former mayor of Las Vegas. Oscar, a couple more quick questions for you, then we will let you go. So,
I have to finish the bottle.
I know you will, too. I know you will, Oscar. I miss you out there with the showgirls.
You guys, here you have your program. I'm trying to enjoy myself and relax a little bit, and you're disturbing me. And this is amazing. I don't even know why I agreed to do this, Brian. I'm never going on your program again.
And you know what, Oscar? You shouldn't. The last thing I would say is I don't want you to get any of your mobsters to come after me because I know you know a few of them, don't you?
Alleged mobsters, reputed mobsters.
Alleged. Oscar, you've done such a great job revitalizing downtown Las Vegas, especially with Container Park.
Place. It really is.
It is.
Very cool.
It is.
Very
but,
cool.
And every city has its issues, and you always have done what you could to help. But as you know, there are some rough spots in North Las Vegas. Around that area.
City. That's not my city. That's North Las Vegas.
No, I totally understand. What do you think needs to get done in those surrounding areas? Obviously, we have a homeless issue. There are some rough parts outside of Fremont Street.
You address these things. Every city has the same thing. I mean, when we went over to NBA Euro with the NBA several years ago, the first thing I saw when we went into Rome was graffiti, and then the homeless, and then to Paris, graffiti and the homeless. So this is not something that's unique to Las Vegas. My wife and her council have set up a homeless center now, which is a very interesting experiment where the homeless can go in, not be afraid of being robbed or sexually assaulted, not be afraid of having their property, whatever it is, taken from them. So we're going to see how that works. I suggested that we do that when I was first elected. I wanted to send them out to Gene, where there was a facility that was used as a prison. And I said, all you do is take down the bars, and you have a perfect place for these folks to be. They have medical things, cafeterias, air conditioning, the whole works. And then the stinking, local, rotten, no good Review Journal, or paper here, if you want to call it, that's a rag, had a headline, Mayor wants to send homeless to prison. And they haven't changed one bit. The paper stinks in Las Vegas.
Are you saying you're not a Sheldon Adelson fan? You're not a Sheldon Adelson fan? Is that what you're saying?
I am not.
No. Shocker.
I am not. Now, can I make it any more clear?
No, you can't. I'll leave that alone.
You can't be held responsible for what I say.
Absolutely not.
I'm telling you it the way it is. The
Oscar,
paper it's not a newspaper. It's a rag.
Hey, if that's your opinion, I have no. There's some people at the Review Journal I don't like, and there's some people at the Journal I do like. Let me ask you this.
I like a lot of people who work at the Journal. I just don't like the mendacity, the sewer of lies that comes out of it. And I'll be addressing that shortly myself.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Journalists don't always get it right. Who are you supporting?
Why are you scared? Don't be scared.
I am absolutely not scared, Oscar.
Hey, don't be scared. JD, you're not scared, are you?
Not scared. I got a question for you, Oscar.
Yes.
So I moved here 14 months ago.
Right.
And when I went to the DMV, and there's 3 of them, or 3 or 4 of them.
There's more, yeah.
They were totally slam-packed with people.
They really fixed that up.
How big is this? How fast is this city growing right now?
It's a great place to live. It's growing beautifully. We have certain issues. When we compare ourselves to other places, this is the nicest place in the world to live economically as well as with the amenities. Carolyn and myself came back after spending a couple of days down in California. The taxes down there are killing people. The workman's comp are killing businesses. We have a tax-free area, in effect. There's no personal income tax. There's no estate tax. I always tell people it's a very good place to die. So I really think that Las Vegas will continue to grow. It's come back completely from the Great Recession. So we're going to keep on going. We're going to keep on growing. And it's going to get better and better and better, which is hard to believe since it's pretty darn good now.
Absolutely. Last question: are you supporting anybody for governor?
Yes, I am. I never really got involved with supporting other people. I was more worried about myself, and of course, when my wife ran to take care of her. But
sure.
I was asked a couple of days ago who I would support, and I said Adam Laxalt. There's something about the fellow who is. It's interesting. He seems like a decent sort. I disagree with him in about 90% of his politics and his philosophy, but I met with him, and he appears to listen. And if bloodlines mean anything, his grandfather, Paul Laxalt, was very, very, very decent with me when I was a baby lawyer representing a fellow who was being impeached by the United States Senate way back long time ago. And Paul Laxalt sort of took me under his wing. So I said, anybody who could be related to a guy who was that nice to me deserves my support. And I'm backing Laxalt. Very
good. Well, we're going to disagree on one thing in this interview. You will always be my number one favorite mayor, and your wife will be number 2. So we're going to have to disagree on that, Oscar. I'm sorry.
Well, what you have to do, my friend, is you have to have my wife on because she's smarter than I am, and she has nicer legs.
I would agree with you with the legs. We agree on that as well. And I will absolutely love to have your wife on the program at some point this month. I would love that.
All you have to do is call her. She's the most amenable person in the world. She never says no to anybody. The only time my wife ever says no is when I ask her to do something. But for anybody else, it's always yes.
Will she give me a loan so I could buy a $75,000 license to get one of those seats?
Let me put it this way. If she gave you a loan, I would have to have you whacked.
There you go. Oscar Goodman saying he would have to have me whacked. Hey, Oscar, all seriousness, my man, I've always been a big fan of yours. I always appreciate it when you come on the show. We always have a great time. Love to have you on again. Get back to the bottle. Get back to that awful preseason football game.
Carpe diem and hashtag YOLO.
All right. Oscar, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Oscar.
Take care.
I love him. I love him. He's like the cool uncle that I never had. Oscar Goodman. Absolutely love the guy. Hilarious. Funny.
Really, really funny.
Yeah, funny guy. Great sense of humor. You know, I know he was trying to do like a pilot for like to be like Judge Wapner, do a show like that. I don't know. I don't know whatever happened to that. I should have asked him. But we got to a lot of subjects, that's for sure. Speaking of subjects, we got a great guest tomorrow. I'm really excited to have this guy on the program. We remember the Fresno State point shaving scandal when Jerry Tarkanian was coaching Fresno after he left UNLV. And the man that was at the front of that point shaving scandal, who was prosecuted, if I'm not mistaken, Dominic Young. He's going to be joining us on the show tomorrow night. He's got a new book that's going to be coming out in March, but he's going to give us all the lowdown, what took place during that point shaving scandal. And I know he has some big opinions on sports betting and gambling throughout the country. What does that mean? Does that mean that perhaps more people like him back in the day will shave points? Is this better or worse for sports gambling as a whole? Now, my opinion is no. I think it's better because it's going to be regulated, and I think it'll be a lot easier to detect point-shaving scandals. But this is a guy who did this back in the day, made money, ruined his college career. It has followed him throughout his lifetime, and it follows him to this day. He's getting involved in coaching, and he's coaching young kids, and he's getting kids involved. He still lives in Fresno. But Dominic Young, the man in the forefront of the point-shaving scandal, will be joining us tomorrow, JD. What you got going on tonight, my man?
Going to TGI Fridays with you, man.
Gonna get some breadsticks with some honey mustard, some barbecue ribs.
I don't know. I've been in a long, long time. We'll see.
All right. Well, you know, we eat bad every night.
Pretty much every single night.
But anyway, thanks y'all for listening, and of course, check us out on Twitter at The Vegas Take if you missed anything, and thewagerfund.com. JD on a hot streak on Major League Baseball. Quickly, we got like 15 seconds. JD, what's your record, Major League Baseball?
42-21 in my last 63.
That is unbelievable.
Doing very, very well.
And he's monitored. Check it out at thewagerfund.com. Everybody have a fantastic Thursday night. Enjoy that terrible NFL preseason football game, and we will catch up with you tomorrow. Have a good night, everybody. With you tomorrow. Have a good night, everybody. With you tomorrow. Have a good night, everybody.